hello, all my musical minions, and welcome to the Forgotten OneCast. I am your host, CJP, for a special Tuesday night event, since this is week being the Thanksgiving here in the States. We just wanted to, have more time for our families, so we figured a Tuesday night will work, and it worked out scheduling for everybody. So, got to go with what we got to go with. But first, of course, we wanted to definitely thank our sponsor for the show, Coffee Brand Coffee. And, of course, that means it's time for the commercial.
Coffee, green tea. Coffee, green tea. Coffee. Coffee, green tea. Coffee, green tea.
Nuts.
Coffee.
Satsuki.
Al Pilkington.
All right.
Green tea.
Are you team coffee or are you team green tea? Try coffeebrandcoffee.com and enjoy 10% off your order with promo code CJP. Coffee Brand Coffee, great coffee, no gimmicks.
And they, of course, have brought out a lot of winter flavors, holiday flavors, if you will. Of course, the obligatory pumpkin spice, because, what would our life be without pumpkin spice? I don't know what that is or what it tastes like, because I don't care. I'm also obviously a man, so not exactly my, cup of tea, as it were. But that aside, again, go to coffeebrandcoffee.com and you can get 10% off your first order. And, of course, they've got a bunch of different flavors. They've got coffees, they've got teas, they've got K-Cups. So anything to fit your caffeinated needs, they've got it there at coffeebrandcoffee.com. Now that that's out of the way, I did want to introduce our guest tonight. He's a musician here locally that I have known for a while. He actually runs sound at the church I play at. And, of course, runs sounds for a lot of different people. And he's quite knowledgeable about the more esoteric side of the music scene. Mr. Bjorn Lakenstrazen. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, that's close enough. What's up?
We'll just go with BJ from here out.
BJ's fine since that's my real name. So how did you get this Coffee Brand Coffee thing? I feel like I've seen this before. Where is that a national thing or is that a Oklahoma thing?
No, it's a national brand. It's a guy by the name of Jeremy from the Quartering. It's his YouTube channel. He started the coffee company, and then he actually has had a lot of different. He came up with this affiliate program for smaller streamers who want to be able to, get a little extra duckies to promote his coffee, to put it on smaller streams, which I thought was really cool of him because, most, of those companies would be like, nah, we're not going to deal with someone that has like, a sub, million count.
Right. I understand that too. I feel like I've heard Coffee Brand Coffee in either Bill Simmons' podcast, if you know who that is, a sports guy. I feel like I've heard that, or maybe I've heard it on a music-related podcast of some sort, but I know I've for sure heard of that. So that's pretty neat that you got that. That's fun.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate Jeremy from the Quartering and being that kind of creator, because he understands, he was a small creator at one time himself, and, now I think he's got 1.5 million plus subs now.
Oh, wow.
On YouTube, and he's also got a huge following on Rumble too. So, and of course we are live on Rumble as well. So if you're either watching us on YouTube, you can watch us on Rumble.
Cool.
So just in case YouTube decides to yeet me for whatever weird draconian reason they want to come up with, but that's just YouTube. I've seen channels get deleted for less. So,
Well, I was telling you at the church the other day, I've had my own music copy written that I wrote myself, and I have no idea how that happened. So
yeah,
I don't get like that.
I don't get how they work. It's strange and unknowable to me on the way they do things. But of course, you always want to like and subscribe if you want to subscribe to the channel. Why not? Why are you here? Of course, and then comment after the stream because it helps the algorithm push the content to the higher pages. So. With that all out of the way, Mr. BJ, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of where your musical journey begins.
That's a hard question to answer, I guess, off the top of my head, but probably I think I could probably actually owe all of it to I had a bunch of surgeries in high school. Between 9th grade to 11th grade, I had 8 total surgeries.
Good Lord.
And so I just stayed home and did my homework in about an hour each day. You know what I mean? Because it was so simple to do if you just did it all right there. And then I would play guitar, which is actually going back to that. I would probably say Guitar Hero, the video game. I'm sure you played that back when it was popular. Remember how quickly that just died out? It just died out of nowhere. But anyway, when I was 16-ish, I played Guitar Hero, and I didn't live with my dad. My dad actually played guitar throughout his life, and he said, "Hey, let me just get you a real guitar." And he gave me an Aria Pro ZZ Custom. It looked like a Gibson Explorer kinda, and it had like blood splatter look kind of thing. It was a real gnarly guitar. It wouldn't stay in tune for crap, but that was something I learned on. I got really big, of course, like anyone my age that liked rock music. I got big into the bands like Metallica, Pantera, Megadeth, all that stuff. And then hanging out with my friends, it kind of turned into something like the real extreme bands like Children of Bodom, the crazy metal bands, Kalma, Lamb of God, all these really heavy, lots of the screaming bands, a lot of that kind of stuff. Cannibal Corpse, the band Death, which was kind of actually progressive. That was kind of my first taste of actual progressive music, so to speak, because they were like progressive death metal band, which sounds ridiculous if you're not familiar with that. It doesn't sound like it should work, but it does. It's really neat. I still listen to that band a few times a year, probably.
Just the name alone, progressive death metal is like where you're progressing to death. You can't really progress much farther than that. Once you're dead, you're dead.
That's actually a really good point. That should be the final form of music, then, right?
Yeah, because it's kind of an oxymoron, and like military intelligence.
Yeah. Well, then I had a friend who was huge into Rush. His name's Dylan Gomez. You guys, or people that live in Bartles will probably know him if you're around the music scene. And he was huge into Rush, and so he would play that constantly in his truck. He would play the album "Roll the Bones." That was like maybe his favorite one, or "Grace Under Pressure." Those two albums. So we listened to that constantly. And then he showed me Dream Theater, because they're kind of like a progression of Rush, I guess you could say. They're kind of next level Rush. And so that stuff blew my mind, and which is funny because normally it starts the other way. You start getting into, I guess you could say, less heavy bands, and then you get heavier and heavier. It was the opposite for me. It was start out with the really heavy bands, and then kind of realize what music came from, I guess you could say, and how much, and also how futuristic the 80s music sounds, the 80s prog rock stuff. That still sounds futuristic to me. Like it could be coming out today, and people will be like, "Oh, okay, that sounds like the latest video game track," or whatever it might be, And then that all kind of shifted, and I got into a guy named Devin Townsend, and he's kind of a combination of a bunch of genres combined. He's way out there with his music, and I got real obsessed with his music for several years. I went out and went to so many of his concerts. I've been to 12 of his shows since I got into his music about 10 years ago or so, a little more than 10 years ago now. And he kind of inspired me to finally really figure out how to do audio production and how to write songs and how to think outside the box. But at the same time, still try to maintain a catchy chorus, or at least a catchy melody of some sort.
A hook of some kind.
Yeah, a hook, which which you wouldn't think that when you listen to those heavy bands when I was younger, there's not a lot of hooks sometimes. So once I realized that's what music really is about, that's kind of changed my songwriting perspective, because I used to write all the crazy stuff way back when I was 18, 19. But I didn't really have my musical epiphany till several years later, in terms of writing. Of course I play guitar. That was kind of the only instrument I really learned. I really wish I would have sat down and really, really learned how to play the piano. I believe you do, right? Do you play the piano?
To an extent, yes.
Yeah.
I can chord my way around, but I wouldn't consider myself anywhere near an actual pianist in that respect. Of course, when I went through college, when you get a music degree, no matter what instrument you play, even if you're a vocalist, everyone who does a music degree has to take piano.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's really mainly because it's the
Makes
easiest instrument to really learn music theory on.
That makes
So
sense.
I understood the concept, but I was never really that great at it because, tiny hands. Those octaves are kind of a stretch for me sometimes.
That's funny you say tiny hands because I have a tiny mouth. I didn't realize this till my wife told me. She goes, "Wow, you have you have tiny lips. You have tiny mouth," and it makes sense why I don't want to sing. And when I try, it just doesn't work. I don't know if that's really a legitimate excuse or not, but when I tried to sing, it was like I just couldn't do it, and my mouth is tiny, so maybe that's why. I don't know.
It's possible. But I did want to acknowledge we did get a couple of people in the chat so far. I got Mr. Clinton Hausch. Thanks for stopping by. Master Tulsa's. Well, it's not Sonic, it's Brahms. And for those who don't live in Oklahoma, this is a staple of the state.
Yeah, it is. Actually, I was running sound for this company a few years ago, and this woman who was on either The Voice or America's Got Talent or one of those, or maybe even what's the original one that's so popular?
American Idol.
American Idol. I think she's from American Idol. She's from Oklahoma, and she got big. I forget her name. She's really good too. She came back, and during that show, she said the thing she missed the most when she moved to Nashville was Brahms. her touring band, that was the first place she took them was Brahms. So there you go.
It's like Buc-ee's in Texas,
Yeah, kind of.
It's kind of just an institution that's here.
Yeah.
So, and of course, knowing that you run sound for a lot of bands, not necessarily as much on the gigging side, but still have those. I always like to ask people who do it in a live setting. I always want to know what was their worst gig, because best gigs are easy, but the worst gigs are always where the fun stories come from.
For playing or for running audio?
For either.
Well, playing off the top of my head I have two off the top of my head. One of which is we were playing Bartlesville, an all-night show at Angelo's. I'm sure you know where that is.
Yep, I've played Angelo's.
Yeah, and I was in a band called Edge of Zephyr. We were like 80s rock kind of sound. We mostly played originals. We probably played half originals, half covers during that time period. And the first song that we played, and I have like an extended guitar solo that's in a part where it's just me by myself, my cable just started giving out, and it was just nothing. Just no noise. And you know how weird that is. Maybe you've experienced something like that, but whenever you have just no sound and it's supposed to be this certain type of vibe, it just ruins it completely. And the rest of the night was weird. It was horrible. In fact, that might even be the night. I think it was either that gig or the next one where there was a scheduling conflict. We actually weren't even supposed to be there that night or something like that. And then the bar or the owner of the building said, "Okay, you can either take," or no, I take it back. It was a money conflict. It was, we're supposed to be paid this amount, and the bar owner claims we weren't. So they said, "Okay, you can either take the amount that you think you should be paid and never play here again, or you can take this amount and play here whatever month from now." And it was weird. We never played there again, but
I was never a fan of that stage.
I don't know if I call that a stage.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more like
it's a corner.
Don't get me wrong. We still have fun there.
Lola's has kind of an ambiance to it. So
Yeah.
even though it's technically there is no stage and it's just the corner when we played there, but it's still the building had more of an ambiance and a feel to it than Angelo's does. Angelo's is just your typical dive bar.
Right. Don't get me wrong. We always had fun playing there, and it was fun, and we enjoyed, especially the audio guy, Eric Hood, if you know him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's somebody who taught me a lot when I wanted to get into audio. He was very knowledgeable, and he taught me a lot, actually. But in terms of the other gig we played, which was the same band, we played either Yale or Cushing, Oklahoma. I think it was called Cushing, and it's a bar that's mostly a country bar. I don't know why they even booked us because we weren't playing country. And there was probably 200 people there, and this huge dance floor, and like 5 people wanted to come and dance. And so it was just, if it's not country at that place, nobody is interested.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we got paid a good amount. They asked us to come back, but it was just, when you play a 3-hour set, or well, not continuously, of course, but you play all night, and nobody's really responding except for like 3 songs that, of course, everybody's going to know, like Rock You Like a Hurricane and Holy Diver and all this stuff that were big radio hits. It was just weird, and it's like, and then they asked us back. That was just a painful experience, especially when you get paid for it. I think it'd be better if I wasn't getting paid in that situation, just because, you know, I just had that guilt feeling the whole time. But
now, did they play both kinds, country and western, or just country?
That's both. Yeah, that's a both kind of bar where they just want to line dance. You know, they want to hear.
Well, I'm thinking of the joke from the Blues Brothers movie.
Oh yeah.
When they take the place of the country band and they say, "Oh, we play both kinds, country and western."
Country and western, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen that in so long. I forgot. But as far as doing audio, I have one gig that has haunted me since it happened in October of 2021. I wish I didn't know that date, but I do, because that's how bad it was. It was my first gig at the Brady Theater, which is now called the Tulsa Theater. There's a lot of circumstances that go into why this gig went south and bad. I won't get into that because it will just be name calling and
right
and finger pointing and blaming. But basically, it was a comedian. His name is Nate Bargatze. He's pretty famous now, and it was supposed to be the easiest gig in the world. 3 microphones and a stereo input for like Spotify playlists. It's just so easy. The easiest thing you could ever be, except nobody in the facility knew where anything was, and I had never been there. Person who hired me didn't know where anything was. It was the first show after COVID. It was the first in-house audio team show after COVID. And to make a long story short, the first comedian, luckily it was not Nate Bargatze, if you know who that is. Luckily it wasn't him. It was the opening comedian. And he goes on stage and just starts talking, and it sounds like you can't hear anything. Like, but I could tell that the stage monitors were working, but nothing out front. And I could still kind of hear what he's saying, and he's pretty much making fun of me as a joke. He's saying, "I thought these audio idiots would figure this out. That's why they have sound check." And so the crowd up front is laughing. Nobody else is hearing it way back here because it's too far away. I'm freaking out. I'm getting screamed at on a headset by the tour manager, telling me, you know, every cuss word there is, and I'm freaking out, wondering why there's no audio. Turns out it was muted. I had the channel muted with a one microphone. One microphone channel, something I've never done at any gig on any level ever. I've never been that dumb. You know what I mean? Just one of those moments where all the stress leading up to the beginning of the show, with the person who hired me, the tour manager who was really, really mad because we missed sound check by like 4 hours, which in a situation like that, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be like that. It should never be anywhere close to that for a comedian show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was just the most stressed I've ever been probably in my life, or close to it. And so I wasn't thinking, and it was muted. And the first 20 or 30 seconds, I was scrambling, trying to figure out why. And then it was muted. But anyway, so that was a long story, but that's my most embarrassing moment.
It sounds like, I had I don't know if you remember a thing called D-Fest that Tulsa ran a few years.
Yeah. Tom Green is the guy who was putting that on, I believe. Yeah.
I ran sound for one of their small stages one year.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be an acoustic only stage. So all I had was 2 Bose LM1s, and that's it. I had no other audio backing whatsoever. Just 2 Bose LM1 stands and 2 subs. And they were only supposed to book, maybe, a 2-piece, maybe a 3 at the most on this stage. And I had to ride the faders so hard because they kept booking full bands. I didn't even have enough inputs for all these people. And of course, it was feeding back horribly because I was overriding the system so badly. And I was just sitting there, it's the worst gig. I'm not getting paid enough for this. Why did they book these? This would have been 2006, 2007, somewhere around there, because I was still working at Guitar Center at the time.
Who were the headliners for those gigs?
I don't remember. It's been so long.
Like Hanson or something?
I think it was something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the worst time I'd ever had running sound.
Yeah.
Was because, again, why are you booking a 5-piece full band with on an acoustic stage with 3 mics on a Bose system? Why?
Oh, dude, there's a theater in Pawhuska that's like one of those old theaters. They have a Bose system, dude, and I heard it is not what you want to mix a band on.
No.
And that was just like 2 summers ago or 1 summer ago, and a full band of like a 7-piece hard hitting band played there, and I was told by the person who got to mix that it was terrible, unfortunately.
Well, but those things aren't designed for long throw. Those are designed for small, intimate settings. That's what they're made for. They're not a PA system in any standard idea of a PA system.
and what they have, a lot of them have like a built-in hard limiter or a built-in hard compressor. And once you hit a certain threshold, something's getting ducked so hard that it takes away everything else except whatever made it duck. And it's so you can get points where all of a sudden the volume drops by like 20 decibels or something. You know what I mean? So, or
you completely lose the mid range.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All I'm getting is real highs in the sub. That's it.
Yeah, not fun. That wouldn't be fun.
So, but yeah, those I always like to hear those stories because, like I said, I had a bass player on a couple weeks ago who was talking about the haunted gig that he played, and I love those kind of stories because every musician's had some horror story of a gig. That's why when you're a musician, Spinal Tap is the funniest movie you will ever watch.
Oh yeah, that's great.
We've all experienced something that has happened in that movie or adjacent to that movie. We've all experienced it.
Michael McKean from that movie is one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest actors ever. If you've seen him in Better Call Saul, especially, he is. Oh yeah, he is so good. I love that guy. He's great.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of all the things I've seen him in over the years. But he always plays a great swarmy bad guy.
Yeah, he does, and he's kind of that in Better Call Saul a little bit. So I haven't heard your worst as a player. What's your worst?
My worst one in Tulsa. He's my bass player in the '80s band that we do. It was the place in Tulsa called the Max's Retro Pub. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No.
They've got arcades. It's a bar, but they wanted to do an outdoor kind of an anniversary gig. So they got Tulsa Top and Sound. Bad idea. So we had this flatbed trailer that we were playing on. We kept running the power over. We kept overloading the generator, even though we had no amps on stage. And we were running, maybe 5 things of actual needed power. And then we had LED lights, which obviously don't pull a lot of power.
Right.
Their soundboard was in a bread truck on the side of the stage. So we had literally no actual front of house.
Yeah.
It had been misting all day, so they had tarps over the speakers, never took them off. So most of the night was... And of course we run, backing tracks and a click track to follow along because we're not bringing out, 18 synth players to do these things. And the guy running the sound had no idea how to split the audio. Tulsa literally had to go into the truck, look at the board, push a button, and walk out, and it worked. The guy had no clue.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that all older sound guys who come from the analog world don't understand that, but I feel like that's a big thing with guys who only learned on analog boards. They just don't understand the concept of.
Well, and this wasn't a digital board either. This was a big old wooden PV board.
Yeah.
This was an analog board, so he should have known how to split the signal.
I mean, it should just be 2 cables. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Simple as that. You just don't send click to front of house. It's as easy.
And then of course we didn't get paid for that gig like we were supposed to.
Oh boy. Because
then they told us that Red Bull was sponsoring the show and Red Bull would pay us. I'm like, no, that's not what we agreed to.
Yeah, good luck.
We never did get fully paid for that gig at all.
I wonder if that's the same guy. There was something that has gone on the past 2 years. I want to say it was either Cherry Street or it was Route 66 Fest of some sort. And he's been called out several times by at least people I'm friends with on Facebook that are Tulsa musicians claiming that he didn't pay and that there was some sound guys who were putting on all the audio that had major good gear. They backed out because they heard about all that stuff. So I wonder if that's the same person. I don't know.
You'd have to ask Tulsa on that one because I don't know the details on who specifically it was running it at the time. I think he was a city councilman at the time.
Okay.
Who owned it then?
Huh.
But he doesn't own it now. I don't even know who owns it now, nor do I ever want to care to go back there.
Right.
I said the only fun thing that happened that night was watching a lady faceplant off of the stage. She was for some reason really wanting to help us load out at the end of the gig, and we're not sure why, but she sat her butt on the edge of the trailer and was trying to slide off, and she just went right underneath it, face full of gravel, just got right back up and walked off. She was that drunk she didn't feel it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like a end of the night drunk person.
Yeah,
they
were at least 10 sheets to the wind.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the one thing I did want to bring up was the ORNJ music that you'd put out. So can you kind of, I want to play an example of it, and then kind of get your background on what you were thinking, what you want to do with it. So
sure.
Let me share my screen.
Cool.
Because I always like hearing new music. So we obviously don't want to play the full album. Let's go with In Liquid Form.
Sounds so weird coming through an iPad.
I know. It's like, I didn't mix it for this.
Potassium, vitamin C, lots of vitamin C. 100% pure quality orange juice. It makes you feel so good.
I like that chorus. That's a cool, fun little chorus.
Mm-hmm.
It's the weird avant-garde part.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're not even the first person to tell me that it reminds them of Packers. That's funny.
Yeah.
I feel like someone else has mentioned that to me. But that makes sense because that movie is such that aesthetic, that kind of that futuristic future that didn't really happen, kind of aesthetic, if that makes sense. Which is kind of what the whole vaporwave genre, which is kind of what I was inspired by when I was writing this stuff, is what people think it's like the future we thought we were going to have in our mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that movie too. That's an interesting one. It's a fun one. But
I was a little disappointed I didn't hear My Loja in there.
Oh.
Have you ever seen the Robert Loggia commercial from the 80s or maybe the 90s for Minute Maid Orange Tangerine?
No, but that's not going to be ruled out. I've been looking at Minute Maid commercials too because for whatever reason, there's so many words and fun little commercial things that go with orange juice. And if you can hear there's a Florida orange juice sample in there. There's Sunny D, which is not really orange juice, but you get it. Speaking of that, I haven't had Sunny D in years. I still remember what it tastes like and how it made my mouth feel, like very confused.
Yeah, because you're expecting orange juice, but it's not quite orange juice.
Yeah, and it's like sticky but dry at the same time somehow. But no, the whole Orange project. Well, actually, it just started out as the name. I thought the name was cool. I thought there's something about the electronic artists out there, which I don't even listen to, like EDM. There's not a whole lot of the quote unquote EDM people that I listen to, but I like their names. I think their names and their logos are really cool. Yeah. And like that whole aesthetic is neat that they can figure that out. Oh, you got a video here?
Well, I said I wanted you to actually hear this commercial because it's hilarious.
Let's hear it.
Try some new Minute Maid Orange Tangerine. It's got calcium.
Then I'm not drinking it.
Oh, no, it's sweet. You'll like it.
I don't believe you.
Well, then who would you believe?
I don't know, Robert Loggia.
Whoa,
Robert Loggia.
Billy, your mother's right. New Minute Maid Orange Tangerine tastes great. This got as much calcium as milk.
If you say so, Mr. Loggia.
Yeah.
This is great.
Enjoy your breakfast.
New Minute Maid Orange Tangerine with calcium.
Yeah.
But I have some problems with that commercial. First is the way the mom looks when he walks in. She has a very knowing and very flirty look on her face.
Yeah,
and the dad is very confused and lost. So I'm assuming that she gets her juice from concentrate. And his name is Robert Loggia.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe she's cheating on her husband with Robert.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a bald-looking, weirdo, and she's kind of a attractive woman, and I don't think that kid is his at all.
Definitely not. It looked like an adopted child.
But I just love that commercial, just how weird it is. Billy, drink your orange juice.
I'm open to any and all orange juice commercials. If you have any obscure ones, if anybody has any obscure ones, please.
Someone's already made a remix with that commercial.
Oh, darn. Okay.
But I mean, there's other ways to do it. But yeah. I just again, that commercial, it just cracks me up because it's so dumb.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very 90s commercial.
Yes, and they have those angles. The way they have those intense, like goofy angles that makes you feel like I don't know, like just like Malcolm in the Middle or something. That's what it makes me think of, is a TV show like that of that time period. But anyway, the whole Orange project is just started off as I liked the name. I liked how the letters made a word, but somehow it had never been used before. I even looked it up, in Bandcamp and all these obscure things, and no one's ever used it, at least what I found. And so I actually made some album art for it. I didn't make that art, but I made some random images that I kind of manipulated it with some programs, Photoshop and a phone app. I just took a picture of an orange and just started manipulating it. And I took a picture of an orange sucker and started manipulating it. And I thought, okay, and I kind of liked the way they looked. I figure, what do these pictures sound like? You know what I mean? What can you make, what kind of like if you're scoring a film, but just a picture. And that's something that I'm probably going to be doing from here on out, because I feel like it gave me really good results, and I've written a ton of music for this whole ORNJ project already. I've already written 3 other albums, actually, that I'm looking forward to releasing. And all just because of the album art I thought was cool. And so I made all these temporary album arts and did the same thing. And now I've made a bunch of stuff. But it's in terms of the sun-kissed one, I wanted something to sound like the sun was melting you. Sounds ridiculous, but like in a really happy, fuzzy way. And
right.
And also, like I've mentioned before, at least in person with you, the whole nostalgic late 90s, early 2000s thing somehow hit me really, really hard about the time I just a few months ago, really 6 months ago or so, 5 months ago, whatever it was. And then I started realizing, wow, those were great times. Of course, maybe they really weren't. You're old enough to know that maybe they weren't, but to me they were, because I was of that age, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 area. Those are usually the best years of most kids' lives, I feel like. Not to say that my life isn't great now, because it is. It is great. I'm very fortunate, very blessed, but that's just what I wanted to try musically, so that's what happened.
I mean, musicians get inspirations from the weirdest places. The band, yes. A lot of people don't know the history of their name, why they have that name.
I don't. Yeah, why?
It was the story of how John Lennon met Yoko Ono. Is he went to her art show. Of course, she's weird avant-garde art. And the first thing that you came into that gallery with was a ladder. And in the ceiling, there was a magnifying glass hanging from some string. So when you climbed up the ladder and you grabbed the magnifying glass, and just the only word up there was in really tiny letters was the word yes.
That's so strange.
And that's what intrigued him to go meet her. And that's where Yes got their name from, because they thought that story was, intriguing.
Huh. I've never heard that ever. That's really interesting. And I can't believe no one else had a band called Yes before that. I mean, maybe someone did, but a big band at least. That's such an obvious name. Or
like The No.
Yes, The No.
You kind of miss those, simple one-word band names, but now they almost sound cliche when people do them.
Yeah, you can't really do that now. It's just there's not enough words left, and
or at least words that you can get away with.
Yeah. The walls or the ceilings, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe the ceilings. I'm sure that's taken by several bands by now, but yeah.
Awesome. So what do you use to record? Like use like your DAW, some of the VSTs that you use?
Yeah. Well, let me turn this. You can see some of my stuff here. That's the Fractal Audio Axe Effects right there. I use that mainly for my guitars and keyboards sometimes to run them through there. This is my Yamaha SY77. This is my Korg mini log little thing. That's a cool one. I'm going into this interface right here. I used to go into my Motu. Let's see. Can you see that? Can you see a Motu? No, probably not.
Yeah. The phone's kind of in the way.
Yeah. There's a Motu.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there's a Sapphire Pro 14, which I'm using now because my Motu died out. Guitar-wise, I think ORNJ was mostly these two guitars right here. Can you see these?
Yeah.
Probably not. Okay. Yeah, the Schecter Keith Miro signature, and then this baritone Telly. These are some other ones that I've used for other albums and just general playing. These two. Oh, I can't see the camera, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, we got it.
Most of the bass was this bass right here, this Ibanez multi-scale. From time to time I'll record with the real cabinet, this Mesa cabinet. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. No, I got it. We got it.
Okay. Yeah. And of course the classic 5150. But VST wise, I'm kind of all over the place with that. Spectrasonics, right here. Omnisphere. Hey, if you're watching this, I'll take Omnisphere 2 for free, by the way. No, not really.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting into the, hey, I'll talk about your VST if you send me a copy.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Absolutely.
Nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah. Omnisphere is a big one for me. I love that one. Like, that's one that was the first VST synth I ever bought years ago. And if I'm being brutally honest, my friends were into pirating at the time. And I tried to pirate it, and I could not. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to buy it. I'm going to be an honest person here and spend my $500 on it. And it was so worth it. I can't really think of a better way to spend $500 for musical things than that. Phonic. Let me pull this up right here. It's called Phonic. Phonic 2 by Psychic Modulation. I really like that one. I like the Arturia stuff, like Arturia Pigments. I like Nexus, REFX Nexus, if you've heard of that one. I think you would love that one. That one's like 80s ballad tones kind of thing, like White Snake, Tears for Fears,
nice.
Those kind of tones. That's one of the best ones out there, and it's pretty cheap too. Let's see what else. Of course, I have the Brainworks plugins, all the Waves Gold Bundle, that kind of stuff that I bought years ago. Let's see. Oh, there's a bunch of plugins I probably couldn't live without right now. One's called Sketch Cassette. That's just have you heard of that one by Aberrant?
I have not heard that one, no.
Aberrant DSP. Sketch Cassette 2 is what I'm using, and it's like it makes things sound warbly and old tape sounds.
Like the tape's about to give out on you?
Yes. And you can make it sound like that. Of course, you can dial it back, which is what I do mostly. But there's a lot of samples on the ORNJ album that I used. Samples that, when I say that, I don't mean that I didn't write the material. What I mean is it's just a sample of a melody or one note of something, and then I turned it into an instrument and use it as an instrument. Like, for example, the In Liquid Form song we just listened to. I think that very beginning pad is from either Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, just one section. It's like, just an ambient kind of sad, someone's pondering something. I forget exactly what it was. They're like looking around at something, and then there's that in the background, and I took that and then shifted it around and manipulated it with Sketch Cassette and stuff like that, and reverbs and delays, and then I just wrote to what I thought sounded cool with it. I think most of the keyboard song and the rest of that song is this Yamaha right here. Yeah.
Well, Tulsa was going to ask, since you're a sound guy, have you heard about the Allen and Heath CQ20B?
I haven't heard about that one. No, I don't know. Oh wait, is that the one that's really small and has been kind of aimed towards bands to use as their in-ear unit, possibly? That's what I'm thinking. That one.
If I remember right, when we talked during practice, it's like the Soundcraft UI series, the UI 16, the UI 24.
That's yes. Then I have heard of that. Yes, I haven't used it though, but I'm sure it's great because Allen Heath hasn't made a bad product lately. Like all the SQ series, SQ5, SQ7, Avantis, the D Live, all those are awesome. Like the D Live is like the end all be all. If I could have that at every single gig, yes. Multi-band EQ on every single channel without latency. You know what I mean? Heck yeah, you can't beat that. Most consoles only have that as an insert option for a couple of things, or they only have like a de-esser that's one band. You know what I mean? Like Yamaha, a de-esser that you can go from 1K to 7K or 8K or whatever it might be and use it. But anyway.
Clinton had an idea that, for something for sampling would be your Brain on Drugs commercial from the 80s.
I see that.
Yeah. Cook.
That's a good idea. That's
Although Robot Chicken did a great expansion on that joke. Is this is your brain on drugs, and then she starts like hitting puppies and like attacking people, and Of course, they take it to its absurd conclusion.
So I can't remember if that's which one is the original now, but there's something else in either a show or a movie where someone's frying eggs and they say that. Like they say, this is your brain, and then they crack the eggs on the frying pan and say, this is your brain on drugs. Is that what that is? Or is that something else?
Yeah, that's an old commercial that Rachel Leigh Cook did back in the day.
Yes. Then
back in the 90s.
That's a good idea. That one makes sense.
Of course, there's a lot of stuff from the 90s that would make, great, because those commercials were some of those were just out there.
Yeah. Like the cereal commercials, those were crazy.
One commercial that drove me insane was the first time that I saw a commercial for a nicotine patch.
Yeah.
Because the commercial was literally just a bunch of random people going, it's the patch. The patch. It's the patch. The patch. It was 30 seconds of that. They said nothing else. They didn't show pictures of anything.
But you remembered it.
I do. And it makes me want to just smoke harder. Even though I don't smoke at all. I'm just going to start because of that commercial.
Yeah.
There was another one I remember from Starburst that just stuck with me for years because of how weird it was. They were trying to do their own version of a Twizzler. They were called Fruit Twists.
Yeah. And
the commercial was a guy in a suit holding the Twizzler like the Twizzler was talking. And he goes up to these women and he goes, would you like to see my wig or my twist, my forbidden dance? Oosh, oosh. And he gets slapped. It's like, maybe they're not ready for my forbidden dance.
I don't remember that one at all, but
oh, geez,
I don't remember that
was
product.
Crazy. Yeah, it didn't last very long.
Yeah. There's, what really drove me nuts was when I was like a kid, like an early teenager or something like that, when I was diehard sports fan, and like Oklahoma Sooners when they were good, but not quite good enough.
Right.
If they were losing a big game and then any commercial that was annoying, it would drive me up the wall because I would just be mad in between commercials, or in between the game, and the commercials would drive me crazy. I would have to go into another room. And you're right though, they were out there and they were in your face and loud. Mm-hmm. I don't know when they put that volume law where commercials couldn't be a certain volume.
Yeah, because I remember those driving me insane.
Yeah, and they would be so loud. And then sometimes the Bartlesville local commercials would be so loud. So they would just blast your TV. You had to turn everything down. Anyway. But
speaking of signal interference, something that audio people are very familiar with, back before the cable system here switched to digital, Channel 20, which was, I believe, VH1 at the time. You always knew when something was getting called to the hospital because the screen would go fuzzy. Because they were riding that same frequency, like they were bumping frequencies every time the hospital made a call out on their emergency dispatch. It made Channel 20 go fuzzy.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And of course, it stopped once they switched to a digital format. But yeah. When it was back on the analog days, it would actually get that interference. It was hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Every time you're watching a pop video and it's like he starts to go fuzzy, oh, someone's in trouble.
Hope
they're okay.
You're the perfect person to ask this question. Do you remember Bid and Buy?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I do remember Bid and Buy.
That was the greatest thing to prank phone call as a kid when I was, 10, 11 years old with my cousins. We would just say the stupidest crap, call in and bid $50,000 on a chainsaw or something like that.
I kind of miss local access TV though.
Oh, I did.
It was always good for a laugh.
It was, because they were a lot of times so delusional about what they were doing, or just so amateur that it just came off as just really, really corny.
Well, they're thinking they're Antiques Roadhouse when they're Antiques Outhouse, basically.
Yard sale, yeah. Yard sale, outhouse.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. Awesome. So you got more of the ORNJ that's going to be coming out here in the next, months or so, or however, long in between.
Yeah. I have one called Topographical Tiger, which is a ridiculous name, but once you see the album art, it'll make sense. That's pretty short. That's only about 20-ish minutes, but that's done and it feels really complete, like as a whole. And then I have one called Fresh Squeeze Jams, and the album art is kind of like, if you remember something like Now That's What I Call Music Volume 1. It's gonna look kind of like that album art wise. It looks pretty cool. I'm excited about that one. That one is really, really happy sounding, like probably so happy that at some point in my life I'll never ever want to listen to it, because it's going to be just so ridiculously happy.
Right.
Very euphoric feeling. Not all of it is, of course, but a lot of it is. Some of it sounds like, once again, the sun is burning you and tearing you up, tearing you apart, and you're dying. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I just think it's kind of fun to make music that sounds like that. That's really only like one song sounds like that at the very ending. But
so I know you got the YouTube channel, which is Bjorn Lakenstrazen 2186 at YouTube. So I put that link in the description. Are you on Bandcamp or SoundCloud?
It's on Bandcamp. Yeah. And
okay.
ORNJ is not on Spotify though.
In the private chat, drop me the link for that, and I'll make sure to put that in the description once we're done.
Okay.
I can go back and edit that and add that in. So, because definitely we want to make sure that people support the local artists.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole reason I do these spotlights, is I want people to discover someone who wouldn't normally show up in the algorithm.
Yeah, well, I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, of course. So we got your Facebook link. Where else can people find you?
That's probably it. I don't have any other social media. I'm not on anything else except Facebook. I'm really bad at this marketing thing. I mean, that's not why I make music, of course, but I guess I should probably be better at that. Like, I don't have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and Bandcamp. That's it, I guess. And so I have other music on other outlets on Spotify. I have a progressive rock / metal thing called Galaxia, where there's actually singing. That's on Spotify and YouTube and Bandcamp, but and Apple Music and all that stuff. If anyone's interested in that, that's on there.
Well, the Casino Ramona's not bad. It was the old Osage that I hated playing at.
Oh, you mean
the one that's out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, I'm kind of confused about this whole situation, because there's going to be a new one going towards Pahuska, and that's not that far from the old one. So I guess the old one's shutting down. I don't know. It's really big.
From what I understand, they're going to turn that into a training facility.
Oh, okay.
Which makes sense,
Have you been out there like in the sunset time? It looks beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous out there. It's gorgeous country. Yeah. It's just the casino itself kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's too far out there. It's too something. My cat's here. I've ran sound for bands out there. It's weird.
A little bit. Just a little bit. Of course, apparently, I saw a friend of mine on Facebook. Something was going down at the new one already with a bunch of cops out there. So who knows what's going on?
Oh, was that already open?
Yeah. I don't know if it's already open. I think it is, actually. I think it's open now. But anyway, yeah, that's a whole local, conversation that no one else is going to get.
Yeah.
But I did want to thank you for coming on. Like I said, I always want to, talk to different musicians and, kind of get their backgrounds and, where they're coming from, because everybody's musical journey is different.
Yeah, definitely.
And, it's always interesting to see where those musical journeys start and what the impetus for that. Because again, it's always something different. It's never the exact same catalyst for someone to saying, I want to give this music thing a shot.
Yeah, I agree. And I really think if I never discovered someone like Devin Townsend or another band I like Porcupine Tree, if I didn't discover them, I don't think I would have bothered learning how to write songs in a structured format and then record them and get more proficient at least at polishing those sounds and turning it into an album and understanding the flow of that stuff. So, I'm curious about yourself. What about you? I know you, of course, love Yes. You've talked about them a lot.
Right. Well, my musical journey really was from my parents, because my mom, she grew up in the early 50s. And so, like mainly 50s and like early 60s, that was her wheelhouse. That's the music she really liked. My dad is a few years younger, so he really started to get his musical footing in the late 60s and early 70s. So I had that broad range between 52 and 75 is really where I all that music in that area was where I had heard a lot of stuff. But really for me, it was her and my sister's love of the Beatles was really what set me to be actually wanting to play. I wanted to be Ringo Starr. I mean, very honestly, and anyone can bash him all they want. He's really a good drummer because he played he played what the band needed.
Definitely. Yes.
And he's also left-handed, so all of his fills start on the left hand. But he plays a right-handed kit. So it makes the fills feel different. It's harder to emulate when you really have to do it like he did, because you're always a right-handed person is always going to want to lead with the right hand.
Yeah. Not
their left. But, for me, he really epitomized what a pocket drummer was. That's the song. That's what you need. Let's fit the song. I'm not going to be Tommy Lee in a rotating drum set, playing a 15-minute solo. That's just not me,
Right. Yeah.
That was really my musical journey was through my parents. And of course, I've got other family members that have always been musicians. I, had several people that were in marching band and, played saxophone, had a couple different ones there. One played flute, a lot of vocalists on my mom's side, because they would, put on the radio and just sing together. When stuff would come on and sing different harmonies and stuff like that. So that's really kind of where my musical journey started. But I didn't really start playing an instrument until I was about 10.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty early though, because I didn't start until I was about 18, 17.
So my sister's about 10 years older than me almost. So she had just moved out and had her own place. And so she had a drum set and she had a guitar. And so she actually taught me my first drum beat and first guitar chords, which was Mellow Yellow and What I Like About You.
That's a good thing to start with. Yeah.
It's just a simple 3-chord song,
Yeah. I'm trying to think what I learned first. Probably, I don't know, Sweet Home Alabama or something like that, or maybe Smoke on the Water. The song, the riffs you probably heard 1,000 times a day working at Guitar Center.
Oh yeah. Well, the one I always heard, the whole stairway joke really kind of got played out by that point. So for us, it was Sweet Child of Mine.
Yes, definitely.
That's the riff I heard more than any, and I never heard it correct.
Never once?
No.
I was probably one of those kids too, because when I would go up there as 17 or 18-year-old trying to learn, I would try all those famous things that I could barely play or couldn't play at all, Thunderstruck.
But I never said anything to anyone playing it, because that's just not the way to encourage music.
Yeah, I agree too. It's one of those things that it's just more like workplace annoyance. You're tired of something in the workplace, so that's one of those things. Whereas you would never actually go out of the way and stop playing. You know what I mean? You would never say that.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
But well, it's that time to put the guitar back in the case. So again, thank you, BJ, for coming out to the show.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Kind of letting us introduce you to people you might not have heard before. Obviously, like and subscribe, share the show out there on social media, guys, so that and then Paul, he's like, yeah, hello and goodbye. Well, I can understand, because we are doing a special Tuesday night. Normally we'd be doing this on a Thursday, so but we still had a pretty good audience though.
I appreciate you letting me come on here, and anyone who checks it out or participated, that's pretty nice of you all. And is it better for me to can I just text you through Messenger that link? Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm not actually even seeing an option for a chat over here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's on the side. There should be a little link for a private chat.
Okay.
You see comments or chat. So it's kind of up on the top left-hand side. But yeah, I mean, we can always do that another time. So next week, Desiree Wright is going to be back on the show, and since she unfortunately had to cut her appearance short the last time she was on for family issues, which always take care of family first. And then next week after December, I haven't got booked yet, but we're working on some different guests to bring on. But as I always say, I don't know, whenever we end one of these shows, just keep making music. Everyone, have a good evening and a happy, wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrate.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you. Yes, thank you.